Justin, you said earlier that you'd been writing all your life, whether it was novels or scripts. So how many scripts have you written before you actually got to Killing Winston Jones?
Killing Winston Jones was my first feature-length script. So, yeah, as I mentioned, I'd written a lot of shorts. I actually wrote a lot of shorts in college, a lot of which I produced as well, that we shot and made, and some went to film festivals and some just went to our living room for our friends to watch. But Killing Winston Jones was the very first feature that I wrote. I think I was in a unique situation just because I had worked so long in a lit department, at Innovative Artists, and had those experiences and read so many scripts and done so much coverage that it really helped me. So I wasn't diving in blindly. It was the first feature technically, but it wasn't, because I'd read so many. I felt like I'd written them in the past and written them before. So, yeah, technically that was the very first idea that I'd come up with, a concept that I'd seen all the way through to fruition.
Would you recommend that to other people coming to LA that want to get into the industry in some sense? Would they work there, or do you think that would sour them too much? On the other end,
I definitely came out a different person than when I went in. I think the word jaded is probably a little too strong, but I think you get a very strong idea and understanding of what this industry is all about. And like I said, there are a lot of positive things about this industry, but it's not as glamorous as some might hope. So I would highly recommend working either at an agency, a management company, or a production company. If screenwriting is what you want to do, work in a lit department, or work as a development exec or an assistant to a development exec at a studio or a production company, or potentially be a writer's assistant. Any of those jobs that'll help teach you the business, not only the creative side of it, but also the business side of it primarily, is going to help you. So I would highly recommend it. I think the people that come in and go straight to a job that's just going to help them financially, whether that's waiting tables or being a bartender or whatever it is that they have to do, I think that they are at a disadvantage. I think you have to be within the industry and seeing the inner workings of it. And if you're not going to be, at least be reading the trades on a daily basis and know what the business is all about. Read as many books as you possibly can on it. Constantly be studying and researching, because that's what's going to help you be a step above the others. If you're creative and you're a great storyteller, that's one piece of an enormous puzzle. So you have to figure out what all those other pieces are, and I think for me that started working at CAA and at Innovative Artists, and because not only the experiences, it's the connections that you make. And I've utilized those connections since the day that I received them, and I'm working with people that I met at Innovative still, and I'm working with people that I met at Creative Artists Agency, and in different capacities and on scripts and projects that I'm working on. So I think it's incredibly important to do that route if you can.
So when you came out after working at those two different places, what was the biggest takeaway? Just how much of a business it actually is, and how little it is on the creative?
Well, like I said, I don't know that it's big business and no creative. I think it's a bit of both. But what I took away is just that the industry is very small. It's a tight-knit family. It's a group of people. So most of the time, 99% of us are on the outside looking in. We're trying to open that window and sneak in, or open the door, or knock, or ring the doorbell. And it's very difficult to do. But once you can understand what the game is and what everyone's doing inside of that house, it's a little bit easier to get in there. So you learn so much about the industry if you're at an agency. You learn so much about production if you're working in production. You learn so much about developing projects if you're working creatively in a studio, or if you're working in a production company. So I think work in the industry that you want to be in, and then hopefully one day that comes to fruition and you can work there full time. It's tricky for a writer, because a lot of times a writer will write a script, they'll option it, and then you'll be done. you're lucky if they offer, you to be the writer that develops it with them and does revisions on that script, because ultimately most of the time they'll bring in other writers or people that they've worked with in the past. So writers are sort of on the outside anyways. So any sort of leg up, that leg up is going to be having worked in a capacity of an agency, production company, a studio. That's going to help you leaps and bounds, because you might be leaving to be a writer, but a lot of the people that you worked with in that capacity aren't leaving, and they are the future of creative execs, or they are the future of producers, or the future agents. And knowing them and having those relationships that you developed, especially having gone through what it takes in the beginning when you are at the very bottom rung of the ladder, puts you in a family together, and you can utilize those resources. So I think that those are incredibly important to have, and I still use those today. I am so close with people that I was dragged through the mud with, as lowly assistants at an agency. And we have stories that we will constantly tell for the rest of our lives about, the different things that happen in those agencies and in that capacity. So it's priceless to work within the industry if you can, and afford to do it and pursue your goals on the outside. A lot of people have to work 9 to 5 or 9 to 7 and then come home, and if they're a writer, write at night. And if you're passionate about it enough, or you believe in your project, that's just what you have to do till you get something that's gets you some traction and hopefully gets made for you.
And interning is also a good idea. So suppose there's not the job that you want.
I think interning is a good idea. I didn't intern, but I think that if you can go to a workspace and convince the people that you're an asset to their company, then you shouldn't be interning for long. The people who are interning and interning for quite a long time may not have the qualities that specific company are looking for. So make sure that you don't just go and end up being stagnant somewhere. Go and make your mark. If you're interning in the mailroom at an agency, then talk to people about why you want to be an agent, or why you want to be there, or the things that you can bring to the agency, or say, hey, I know so-and-so's busy. Can I maybe do coverage? Can I read coverage? And you're doing it as an intern, you're doing it for free. And maybe you deliver coverage that's really good. They're going to want you to start doing coverage, and they're going to pay you. Or say, if so-and-so is sick, can I step in and sit on the desk as an intern? If you do well at the desk as an assistant, they're probably going to promote you to an assistant. So I don't think interning is a bad idea. Just get your foot in the door. If you have the qualities and the assets that these companies need, they'll end up taking you. So any way that you can show off that, I think is important. And if interning is that route, then take it.